Welcome back to the Socialist Report. This is from In These Times: How to Fix the Democratic, Pathetic Florida Democratic Party, and we're just going to get right into it. To reverse their dismal midterm election performance, Florida Democrats need to embrace working people, the environment, and unite here. In all the exhilaration over the unexpectedly strong performance of Democrats across the country in the midterms, there is one glaring bastion of suck: Florida. Them again. In the Sunshine State, the Democrat candidate for governor, Charlie Crist, a former Republican, got obliterated by proud fascist Ron DeSantis by a 60-40 margin. The Democrat candidate for Senate, Val Demings, a former police chief, was beaten almost as badly by simpering jar of hair gel Marco Rubio. Florida should be a swing state, but it's not. The reason is that its Democratic Party is weak, incompetent, or both, but there's a way to change that. I believe the National Democratic Party is weak and incompetent, but then again, their whole idea is to pretend to be an opposition party to the Republicans when in reality giving the wins to the Republicans. There is no law of nature that makes Florida a red state. Barack Obama won the state in both 2008 and 2012. In 2018, a fledgling Ron DeSantis, newly emerging onto the national stage by trailing close behind Donald Trump like a child on a leash, only narrowly defeated Andrew Gilliam, an actual progressive, by less than 1/2%. The idea that Florida is some sort of impregnable Republican fortress has only taken root recently, as Trump made his tacky Palm Beach palace the headquarters of a global armada of bloodthirsty boat owners, and the Florida Democratic Party responded by cowering in the corner and trying to run to the middle with a laughable lack of success. Uh, Basically, my opinion on them, they're intentionally giving the Republicans the win. I was born and raised in Florida. Charlie Crist has been a major political figure there for decades, and where was I? And can't tell you a single thing that he stands for except looking like a man who would be cast as a politician on network television. So they can tell you, however, that any belief that the angry, sunburned car dealership owners who made up the Trump and DeSantis base represent the majority of Floridians is an awful misreading of the state. They can also tell you and the Florida Democratic Party that those people who want to vote Republican will never decide to vote for a Democrat who ran to the middle if there is also a Republican on the ballot. Instead of giving voters a weaker version of something bad, Florida Democrats should try giving them something good. Georgia has two Democratic senators. Do you think Georgia is naturally more liberal than Florida? It ain't. The party needs to get its act together. That's an odd placement of ain't. Florida is a tourist economy that sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean like a perpetual pinata for hurricanes. Can't say that's a lie. 21 million people live there, and a ton of them work in the thankless, underpaid jobs that make any tourist economy run. From Jacksonville to Daytona to Orlando to Miami to Panama Beach, millions of Floridians scrap by working at the hotels and stores and restaurants and tourist attractions that keep the state afloat. Those same people also directly suffer under Republican state governments that don't even care enough to build a functional unemployment or healthcare system, as was amply demonstrated during the pandemic. Most Floridians live by the coast. Much of that coast is going to be unwatered during this century. That is not some wacky, far off fantasy. It is happening now. Their hometown of St. Augustine was flooded twice by hurricanes in a 2-month period this year. Homes on the beach are falling into the ocean in Daytona. Coastal cities flood on sunny days. It's a problem. Labor and the environment, that is the coalition of the Florida Democratic Party should represent, It is a winning coalition. Democrats should be the party that will raise wages and protect worker rights and push for universal health care and fight climate change. For every DeSantis-loving boat owner, there are 50 people who hate them because they are the obnoxious boss. I don't get what that means. They are the people who build McMansions on the beach dunes and run over the neighborhood cats in their gargantuan, pristine pickup trucks. The Democratic Party should not scrape and mule and try to cater to those people softly. It should tell them to screw off loudly to watch the Democrats run a former Republican and a former police chief in a purple state 2 years after the largest racial justice protest in American history is pathetic. Yeah, Val Demings, I didn't think was much. Being a former police chief, after all. No wonder potential Democratic voters in the state aren't energized. For what? Give them a genuine vision. To represent working people in Florida does not mean confining yourself to some red-baited electoral socialist prison. What does that mean? To represent working people in Florida does not mean confining yourself to some red-baited electoral socialist prison. It means representing the people working at the gas station, the grocery store, and the cafe. They need help. The Republicans aren't helping them. To represent the environment in Florida does not mean catering to some tiny sliver of college-educated Greenpeace members. You know who has a direct interest in environmental preservation? People who go fishing. That's a lot of people. Some of them even have boats. I am lost here now. It feels like this writer is I don't know. They do not want to just heritage the state party with a vague prescription for change. They can tell who to call. Unite Here, the Hospitality Workers Union, has thousands of members in Florida, particularly in Orlando and in South Florida. They spent time in Miami earlier this year reporting on the union's efforts there, where they are carrying out their well-honed formula of organizing workers in hotels and airports and stadiums, building those workers into a militant and well-disciplined force, and using that force to sway local elections, creating a self-reinforcing virtuous cycle that can bend an entire region's politics to become more worker-friendly, which then feeds more union organizing, which feeds more political power for workers, and so on. It works. Unite Here knows how to do it. The union's massive door-knocking campaign was a major difference in the close midterm victories for Senate Democrats in Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona. The Democratic Party of Florida should be knocking on the union's door with a home-baked pie right now, asking them how to win. Earlier this year, they spoke to Gwen Mills, the Secretary-Treasurer and former National Political Director of Unite Here. She points to the union's successful efforts to elect pro-labor Democrat Tamilia Levine Cava as mayor of Miami in 2020 as proof that opportunities abound in Florida. In South Florida, a perpetual problem for Democrats that has worsened in recent elections has been conservative Latinx voters. But Mills emphasizes that the work of investing in labor organizing before pure political organizing works there too. We're trying to drive organizing campaigns with an economic message so we can build a level of organization around economics. Because if we just try to build in South Florida around Republican-Democrat lines, we're not going to get there, she says. It's a multi-year thing at the county level around economics. Here you have an organization that knows how to organize workers to improve both their own lives and the awful politics that keep them down. Only 5.2% of Florida workers were union members in 2021. That has to change. The state is run by a party that hates unions, wants wages low, and is determined to do nothing to stop the scientific process that will see the state swallowed by the sea. That has to change. The Democratic Party needs to be bold. Call unite here. Yell at the selfish voters and try running an actual leftist next time. There's nowhere to go but up. The thing is, the Democrats are not left-wing, and they're just basically the Republican Party. They're basically Republican whites, is what they are. On economics, they're exactly the same. On social issues, they're more moderate. So you're not going to see change until there's either a progressive social democrat that somehow gets power in the Democratic Party and does not sell out, or third party, a third socialist party. That's going to conclude this video in these times. That's what this article is from. See you in the next one. It's been Socialist Report, and peace out.